Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny. User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home Impodcast time!
That's right. Binford Tools is proud to present a Home Improvement Podcast. My name is Adam, and you all know my co-host, Jordan, the Ace Angler Lyons.
Oh, man. I like that my nickname changes every week.
It's going to continue to change every week until I run out of nicknames to give you. But that's not. I mean, that's seasons, perhaps years down the line. So, Jordan, how you doing on this Friday morning?
I'm back in my climate-controlled setting.
Back
not
in the saddle?
garage. Yeah. I'm not in the saddle.
Not in the saddle.
We've done that like 4 times, so I don't think we can do that again.
Yeah, that's true. Repetition is we just can't do that on this weekly podcast. No way we're going to repeat ourselves, and certainly
never.
No way
not once.
will the show repeat itself either. So
especially in that intro where we just pulled things that we used to repeat over and over again and put them in the intro.
Amen.
Yeah.
So
how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah. I'm trying to think what's new. Not a whole lot. Teaching a little, and I'm getting ready to head up to Michigan next week for a wedding. So heading to Ann Arbor for that.
It's a big wedding, not so much because it's a friend getting married, but you have a speech to deliver.
I have a speech to deliver. So yeah, I've been working on that. You've read it, and you gave it your seal of approval.
Mm-hmm.
You said it.
I laughed a couple times.
Just a few times, though.
Just a few.
Yeah, you gotta marry kind of the sentimentality with the humor, and it's tough. I've never given a best man speech before.
You'll have to let us know how it goes.
Yeah, unless it goes poorly, and then we will never mention it again.
That's a good idea. That's what we do with our bad episodes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Just any bad experience, we just move past it. Jordan, you found an article.
I did.
Before we started recording, and it's from your favorite website, Fox News.
Yeah, foxnews.com. It's bookmarked on my browser here, so I just go there every day, and there happened to be, I guess back in May, I think this was, a Tim Allen article.
A Tim article. Yeah, and it's titled It's appropriately titled Tim Allen: 8 Things You Didn't Know. They didn't decide to capitalize.
Which is actually a lie.
Yeah, we knew some of these things. I'm going to let you spearhead this because I think you read through the whole thing, whereas I only looked at the first 3. So let's talk about it. What do you got?
All right. So let's get the stuff that we already knew out of the way, because I think we've talked about some of these, or at least they are generally known. Tim Allen, a man of faith. He has a giant car collection. With the Last Man Standing recent cancellation, he didn't see it coming. Okay, so those are the ones that I felt like were obvious. But
pause though. I don't think that Tim is a man of faith. He's like a man of science. That whole second book, is entirely built around how he believes. He doesn't. I don't think he is a man of faith.
When was that book written though? Because it says that this is more of a end of the '90s, early 2000s sort of development.
Oh, where is it? I'm turning around to my bookshelf, and I actually have it in the my entertainment section, which is another bookshelf across the apartment, and it's not worth getting up for that. But yeah, okay, that makes sense. That checks out.
My guess is that. I mean, I've heard him refer to that whole situation as like the builder, in the kind of Tim Taylor persona and all that, wanting a relationship with his builder. That's the way he puts it. So, but the first one, Fox News leads off just with a real humdinger here. It says, number 1, Tim is a cat guy.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, they don't want you to know because it goes against his brand, like dudes are supposed to have like golden retrievers and stuff, not a couple of tabby cats, but
instead he's got Joe the water animal, apparently, because it's no small kitty. It looks like a water animal. That's what he describes it as.
I don't get it, but yeah, sure, keep going.
I don't either. Water animal. All right, the next one is Tim was pals with Steve Jobs. apparently they used to text each other back and forth until Tim suggested that the Apple font was changed to something that was a little more sans serif, and that really turned Steve off.
I feel like this article is made up. Like, it makes for good conversation, but like, where's this coming from? Like,
I don't know. A lot of the things that it pulls from are Ellen DeGeneres interviews. There's at least 2 on here that come from an Ellen DeGeneres interview.
When I have my students write their college papers and look for sources, I generally say like, yeah, you can go to
just
like
go
a
to the Ellen
database, or you can just watch Ellen DeGeneres talk show and you can get your sources from there.
Just go through the archives. You'll find something that's gold.
I mean, also that Steve Jobs thing, can't really check up on that now, you know? It's kind of like
I don't think
Tim's
we're going to be able to
versus...
get to those texts.
I don't think so either. Yeah. What about her emails though? You know. The next one is Tim bought an RV. So for his wife's birthday, he agreed to take her on an RV trip. So he bought a customized RV. Tim has a lot of siblings. We already knew. His home improvement wife thinks he's underappreciated. So Jill said,
I think we feel this way too, though.
That Tim is underappreciated.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about how the show really isn't mentioned with a lot of like the popular '90s articles that come out nowadays, like '90s sitcoms, best '90s sitcoms, and all that kind of stuff, and it's not really ever mentioned. And she thinks that way too. She also says that she thinks he was an underrated actor because he came in as just a comedian without really any experience. Yeah. And I suppose that rings true. We haven't really had a lot of scenes where we've said, like, he's doing a terrible job acting.
Yeah, I think that I definitely agree with both those things. I think that he is an underrated actor. And I think that, I mean, I'm sure I've said this before, but I think the show doesn't age well, or people, like, perceive it as not aging well, is because, like, I think that really when people look back on it, they only kind of consider, like, the machismo kind of aspects of it, where it's, like, I'm a man and... my wife, like the lame wife jokes that you get, like, I don't know, every couple of episodes. But I think that the familial dynamics and the jokes and the guest stars and just kind of the cultural impact have kind of largely been forgotten. And I think maybe that's just like a testament to sort of like where we are as a culture right now. And maybe people are obviously like kind of sensitive about things, and like a show like this that every once in a while would have like kind of a one-off joke about women, or maybe like a diatribe where like Tim is kind of just like doing like lame, like cliche differences between men and women, and the nagging wife voice doesn't necessarily translate well. But there's obviously like a lot more to the show that people, and like everybody watched it is crazy because like a show that just like drew in like millions and millions of viewers and was just like so big has kind of just been forgotten. And that's why we started this podcast. So. Because
we will not let it be forgotten.
Yeah.
Nor will we. I think I remember one time you read something on, maybe it was IMDb forums, that said that they got their feminine claws into the show.
It's funny. I just listened back to that episode like 2 days ago. I don't know. I was just like sitting around kind of bored, and I was like, oh, I'll listen to an early one. And I think it was the first season Christmas episode, and it was like, the feminist, whatever, commissar got their claws into the show, and then the person was like, yeah, it's just like Entourage, which is like the most bro-y show ever constructed. I will say that we've gotten a lot better at podcasting since episode 12.
Thank goodness.
It was just really a lot of awkward pauses, and you wouldn't laugh at my jokes and stuff, so thankfully you've learned to just kind of...
I've loosened up a little bit,
go along with it. Yeah, you were so nervous in the beginning. You used to, like a Yankee before Game 7.
The audience couldn't see it, but I was sweating through all my shirts, and it was like I just went for a nice 30-minute run.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get in the episode. I guess in general, good to talk about this article. I don't believe really any of it, and that's the Fox News aspect. Maybe it's just like the fact that it's mostly Ellen DeGeneres as a primary source. But Jordan, I appreciate you digging this up.
Yeah, I really had to dig real deep for this, and we'll make sure to link to this article on our blog, just like we always thought.
We
always thought we'd link to Fox News on our blog for this. So if anyone wants to check it out, it'll be there.
Tim Allen probably is happy that we're talking about a Fox News article. You know, I'm sure he's kind of a Fox News guy. So you know, there's that at the very least.
Exactly. So let's get into episode 51. I'll See You in My Dreams. So, this episode was written by Elliot Shoninman and this is his first. It was also co-written by Marley Sims, and she was a season 1 veteran. She did Luck Be a Tailor tonight. She did Birds of a Feather Flock to Tailor, Offsides, which was like the 3rd episode in the series. So we got a little bit of a new blood and an old veteran mixing on this one. And I don't want to spoil it, but I think we both liked it. So this episode aired September 22nd, 1993. No plot keywords, but we do have alternative titles that you just came up with, and I have some bad ones too.
I've got
so we
a
might
real issue with coming up with these alternative titles. I just never remember to do it, and then I end up doing it as we're kind of prepping for the show. So, I think sometimes I say like, "Oh, mine were really bad," and they're actually kind of good, and deep down I sort of know that. This time I'm saying they're really bad, and they are really bad. So I have 4.
So why don't you start off? I have 3.
Okay. All right. Okay. Nope. I mean, it doesn't matter which one I choose first because they're all so bad. I'll start with Birthday Disarray. It's not actually accurate. I mean, it's not.
It's a very short birthday scene, but it's in
whatever.
there.
Yeah, it's whatever.
It's fine.
Go ahead.
It's fine. I like that we always go for some sort of like pun. We don't have any other.
Birthday Disarray. It's Rob Schneider's a semi-popular comedic actor in The Carrot.
Oh, that's a good episode. I have All's Well That Ends Well.
All's Well That Ends Well. Yeah, it's good. I think it suffers because you screwed up saying it, but
sure.
I do like it. Yeah, it's a good one. That's better than any of mine. Oh man. Alright, whatever. And bingo was his game, oh.
You know what? That's good. I don't care who you are. That's just fantastic.
I don't care who you are. That's funny. Alright, next one.
I don't care who you are. Eileen, you. Kind of like I love you.
Oh, that's bad. That's worse. That's the lowest one of it we've had.
I tried to sandwich that in the middle.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Is that it for you? Or do you
I got one more.
Okay. All right. This one's pretty cut and dry. The Point Guard Pen Pal.
Not
much
there.
Yeah, that's
just a lot of alliteration. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah.
All right. So this one works on a couple different levels. So get ready for that.
I'll be the judge of that.
Signed, sealed, delivered. Al's yours.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. You did well this week. All right.
Thanks.
Except
for the middle one there.
I'm going to bury this one real quick. Karn, you grow up.
Oh, wow.
Right. So,
is that all 4 for you? Karn, you grow up?
You bested me this week, pal. But next week I'm going to remember to do it, and I'm going to have some game changers. Even Game Changer would have been better than any of them that I said.
You know, my favorite one was your bingo one, though.
Yeah, well, I committed to these. All right, well, there we are. Do we have a plot synopsis? Is Tony back, or is it Jeremy?
It's Bernie, actually.
Oh, okay, my old college roommate. Great.
Yeah, he's back again. Yeah. So Al celebrates his birthday with Tim's family. His wish is for a wife. Jill sets him up with Eileen. Al is ready to get married on the first date. Meanwhile, Brad and Randy play a trick on Mark with a letter saying Isaiah Thomas will visit. Thanks, Bernie.
That's right. Thank you, Bernie. Quick trivia. The title is a parody. I don't know if parody is the right word. I would say reference.
Play on words?
The title is a parody of the 1924 song I'll See You in My Dreams, written by Isham Jones with lyrics by Gus Kahn. I'll See You in My Dreams. Maybe I know it. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, if we played it, we'd probably know. There's no time. There's no time.
You know how music is. Let's get into the episode, Jordan.
All right, let's do it. So we're going to open at home. The boys are coming inside. The logo sneaks in with the older boys. I was looking for
the logo. I didn't see it again.
You have some bad eyes. Are you still on Daily Motion? Is that the problem here?
No comment.
All right, so they are ready for a prank. I think this might be the 3rd straight week that they're pranking Mark. And this time they've come up with writing a letter from the Pistons' Isaiah Thomas. Mm-hmm. The letter was already opened, but they don't really talk too much about that. Mark apparently wrote 25 letters to Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah decided to write back. And he says, I can't wait to meet you. So he's going to come over on Saturday. Also, he loves corn on the cob. So if you're cooking, make sure to bring some of that. And then I also like that Isaiah Thomas puts in there, but don't tell anyone that I'm coming over.
Yeah, it has sort of a To Catch a Predator sort of feel with that inclusion. So a couple things that I noted. It's a good opening scene. I was glad to maybe see them not on the Tool Time set, only because I don't know that those have been especially effective lately. They walk in and they're pretty self-congratulatory. They're like, "We did a great.
This is gonna be great.
We did a great job." I liked. What was I gonna? I liked that the corn on the cob thing. Like, that is just a really funny bit throughout the whole episode. Like, I don't know who thought of that, but the idea
That's
of
fantastic.
Like, the idea of like Isaiah saying like, "I like corn," like, have your mom make corn on the cob is just, I mean, anytime anyone says corn in this episode, with the exception of when I said corn for my fake title, "Corn You Grow Up," I got a pretty good laugh out of it. I also feel like this is like setting up Brad and Randy as kind of like sociopaths. This is a very, very, like, I mean, Mark is so excited. And does he get the letter in this scene or no? I think he does, right?
Yeah, he's thrilled because he reads it.
Okay, so yeah. And like, he's so excited and they're just really reveling in it. And these boys, they're bad news.
Yeah, you know what's a sign of a sociopath? Brad has his sweatshirt tied around his waist. That's a sign of a sociopath.
I feel like I routinely do that still.
Oh no!
When I'm walking or something, I get too warm. I take it off and tie it around. We can talk about Isaiah. Do you want to talk about Isaiah?
I got it at the end.
Okay, at the end. Okay, but needless to say, Isaiah Thomas, when this episode came out in 1993, the biggest. I mean, probably the best Piston of all time.
Yes,
I would say so. Yeah. All right, we'll talk about him at the end. So, all right, good opening. I like where this is headed. So we cut to the side yard, and a good visual gag here. It's Al's birthday, and the cake is a flannel shirt. It's a nice looking cake,
and it's really big. Like, it's not an ordinary sized cake.
Yeah.
Like, this is. I don't know what the dimensions are, but I don't even know how they got this in the oven or where they got it from. It's ginormous.
You a cake guy, Jordan?
I am a cake guy. I like chocolate. I like cherry chip. I like just regular white or yellow cake.
Mm-hmm.
I'll eat it all.
Yeah. See, when I was younger, I used to ask my mom to make pies instead of cakes. I'm just not much of a. I mean, I don't dislike cake, but give me a pie over a cake 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much like all desserts that I can eat as long as there's no nuts or anything.
You're a foodie.
I'm a foodie, yeah. I take a lot of pictures of my food and post them on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. So if you want to follow me there.
Is it still at Jordan Eats?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so birthday side yard. Al is he's celebrating his birthday with the Taylor family, which is immediately just kind of sad. Like
yes.
It's as if it's as if he is a member of the family, but it's not. It's just some guy that Tim is friends with. So it's sad.
It's just going to get sadder.
It's only going to get worse. So Al makes a wish, and who asked? Was it Jill who asked what he wished for?
Yeah, Jill asked, but he won't tell her. He's a little superstitious.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about our superstitions before, so we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, we won't do that again.
But yeah, he believes in the superstition until they weasel it out of him, and I think Tim says, you have to tell me or you'll get no presents.
Yeah, and then, Tim says, Al says he won't tell, and then Tim says, what do you turn in, 7, 8? There's a lot of really, really funny lines in this episode, I feel like. A lot of good one-liners. Mm-hmm. I found it odd that Jill would ask what he wished for. How old is she? 7, 8? It's kind of the same sort of thing. Jill's actions in this episode are a little strange, but Al won't tell his wish because it won't come true. But they do eventually get it out of him, and Al says that he wished for a wife.
Al.
Yeah, and he says it in front of everybody.
Desperation is just boiling over at this point.
He wished for a wife, and it brought me back to the scene in Liar Liar where the young boy wishes for his dad to not be able to lie. But that was a child of 8, whereas Al's a man of 35. So the scene continues, and Jill, of course, being the matchmaker or at least she fancies herself a matchmaker, she says that she has someone for Al. Doesn't know her name, never met her, really knows nothing about her. Sister of a friend
at work.
Yeah, sister of a friend at work. Tim immediately says, no, this is a bad idea. You're not good at matchmaking. He's right. But Jill continues to push it. Al is he's somewhat interested, but he's got to go, Jordan, because he has a bingo birthday tradition. And that is when it's your birthday.
Dating back since he was 19, I guess.
You get to sit next to the caller and use your age as a free space. So he's N35, but he remembers when he was I-19.
Yeah, I love that Al, you can see at home, Al has some calendar that's probably, I don't know, just some, is probably like a Bob Vila calendar, and written in every single Wednesday or whatever day at 7:00, it's bingo night. Like he's got it scheduled. He's got an alarm on his watch to make sure that he's not late for it. Oh,
I thought this was really funny joke. Really good. I thought that was it really got a laugh out of me. Have you played much bingo?
You know, we actually had like a home bingo set for some reason. I'm not sure that it got as much play as our Monopoly games or Risk or even just playing cards, but we had it, and I don't know that I played a lot, but I'm familiar with the game.
Well, sure, we all are. People get really into it. I find it dreadfully boring. I mean, what's the skill involved? Just listening?
Yeah,
I think maybe listening.
No wonder Al's so good at it.
Yeah, he's a good listener. I mean, he's also a good listener. Makes kind of an attractive lover as well. He's able to listen. Next scene, we're in the makeup chair, and Tim is he's getting his makeup put on, and Al comes in and he says, her name's Eileen, and she's an orthodontist, and like Tim doesn't really know what he's talking about, but apparently Jill has kind of fixed them up, and he wants to invite her over, but he needs to have a party or something. He wants to have some other people there to kind of ease the tension, and of course he wants Tim to come. Tim is not interested, rightfully so. He kind of knows, he spent the night at Al's apartment last season, so he kind of knows what that whole thing is about, and he wants out of it, but obviously he's going to end up going. They're dressed in full fishing gear, which it makes for a funny kind of visual. I mean, like waders and hat and like,
all the way up to like their the top of their pants, and they've got like the whole stuff on their chest where the big old pockets that are puffed out and put stuff in.
Yeah,
it's like you said, good visual gag. Yeah, I also wanted to say that it seems like Eileen and Al really hit it off because she's got a good sense of humor. She made a lawyer orthodontist joke.
Yeah. That
really just stuck in Al's mind.
I think you should tell it if you're going to bring it up.
Sure, absolutely. So. What was it? How does a lawyer like hook up with an orthodontist, or how does an orthodontist keep a lawyer?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess it was he.
This is why I didn't bring it up, because I didn't remember the joke, but you wanted to, so you finish it.
Yeah. Well, you made me do it. He puts him on retainer.
Yeah, you got it. Glad we were able to do that. All right. It's Male Hobby Week. On Home Improvement. They must be running out of ideas. Male Hobby Week. And it's fishing, of course, as we've kind of noted. And they come out and they do their bits and so on. And Al's kind of giving Tim some nonsense, or he makes a joke at Tim's expense. And Tim says, what, did an orthodontist write your joke? And like the audience really, really laughs. But how
would they know?
Yeah, I was going to say, they wouldn't have any understanding as to what that meant. So, like, I'm not really sure. I mean, I know that the writers just didn't really think about that, but it doesn't really make sense because that was a backstage thing.
I do like that Al seems a little bit feistier this season with Tim on Tool Time. He's just, like, giving him the business all the time.
Yeah, well, he's got some like, faux confidence from knowing that he's going to have a date. And if you're Al, that's really all it takes, I guess. So it's Male Hobby Week. They have Ace Angler, which, you might have thought you were the only Ace Angler, but there's also Chuck Norwood.
Yeah, we're kind of rivals.
Yeah. I mean, you do fish. You fish. I know that you do. Do you want to talk about that?
I was going to ask you if you're a fisherman. I don't think you really are.
I'm not. I should be. Just my parents have
I should be? What is that?
I mean, like, Houghton Lake, my parents have been, like, had places on the water pretty much my whole life. So, like, people would, like, come up and stay with me and stuff, and they would want to fish, but I never really had any interest in it. I feel like I've talked about this before, but I prefer ice fishing to regular fishing. And I think that's mostly just because I like to just sort of hang out on the ice and, like, eat and drink beer and throw around the football. So it's less about the fishing and more kind of the atmosphere. But I know that you fish.
Yeah.
Come clean, admit it.
I really didn't think this was going to come up on an episode that talks about fishing.
I know.
But my father-in-law, big fisherman, and my wife enjoys it as well. So we used to go out in Houghton Lake quite a bit, and now that they're in Florida, he's going to get a license, and I'm sure they're going to want to go.
You don't like it as much as they do.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like, I don't mind like the solitude and just kind of hanging out and relaxing on the water and the sun and whatnot. I'm not a big fan of like touching the fish.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're a little slimy for me.
Yeah,
but
my mom uses.
I'll put my rod in the water if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. My mom likes to fish, and she will use like rubber gloves because she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to touch the thing. Yeah. Sorry to, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. I don't like to do kind of gotcha journalism, but I feel like, after the Fox News article, I just kind of want to get to the core of things.
You were getting in the mood.
Yeah. All right. So we got the ace angler, Chuck Norwood, and I really like this. His hat. You know what it says? Fishing. Just fishing. Just a hat that says fishing.
A little on the nose.
Because he is a fisherman.
Let's get into the bio of Chuck Norwood. Why don't we? So David Graff, kind of sad. He passed away fairly young at 50 of a sudden heart attack, which apparently his father did the same exact thing. So that's kind of upsetting. He broke into the movie business in the early 80s with Four Friends, which I've never heard of. But most people are going to know him from his appearances on the Police Academy. He was played Eugene Tackleberry, the gun fanatic with like a military background. He was in all 7 Police Academy films. I didn't realize they had 7.
I did, only because it's just like I feel like it's a major joke. Because like, have you ever watched a Police Academy movie?
I've watched the first and maybe the second.
I've watched Mission to Moscow, which is like might have been the 6th or 7th, and it was terrible. Man. So I never watched another one. But yeah,
yeah. He also made several appearances on 90s sitcoms, Seinfeld, Martin, which is both of our favorites, Family Matters, and fun fact, he's also was a skilled sax player.
Just like Bill Clinton. I reckon this guy is like a very, very recognizable face.
Yes.
West Wing, I think I saw him in relatively recently.
Yep.
But like you name like a 90s TV show, and this guy was on it. So in terms of his performance in this one, he's not given a lot to do. It's not real memorable, but he was
welcome addition to the episode, though.
Yeah.
I think he does better than some of the other actors that are going to be on this episode later on.
He's got gravitas. So he's out there. Hat says fishing. There's like some fly jokes. It's fly fishing, wet fly, dry fly. Tim makes a joke that Al's wet fly has kept him out of every major restaurant in Detroit. Is that just like a peeing your pants kind of joke, or what?
Yeah, I don't know what else it would be referring to.
Yeah, I didn't really get it. Tim breaks his $800 rod, and then says, we have insurance. Al reminds him that the insurance was canceled after the 4th episode.
I feel like with that news, Chuck is really taking that in stride.
He doesn't
he's
seem
not
mad
even
at
really
all.
upset.
He just kind of keeps smiling. That's why I'm saying he has gravitas, because he doesn't even break. He should be mad. A lot of people are mad when these kind of things happen. But
when you're just in the fishing mentality, nothing really gets you down.
You don't get the name ace angler without having a certain sense of coolness. Dare I say?
They say a bad day fishing is better than a good day in the office.
Between that and the Billy the Big Mouth Bass things that everybody had in the early 2000s, you're onto something, I'd say. So there's another rod, and it's a conductor.
Rod.
It's a conductor of electricity, and we all kind of know where this is headed. It's probably like the only part of the episode where I was not especially on board. Tim is kind of, I don't know, he's doing the fly fishing motion, and it gets caught in the light above, and Tim is electrocuted. But don't worry, there's no repercussions.
Yeah, he's fine. Don't worry about it.
He's fine, whatever. We've all been there.
Electrocution is not a serious thing at all.
No, I agree. All right.
So let's just move on, since it doesn't matter. At home, Jill is making dinner. She's like tossing a salad of some sort. And Mark asks for corn on the cob Saturday night, but he won't say why. And she says, if you don't tell me, we're not having corn on the cob. So he spills the beans. Mark says Isaiah Thomas is coming. And I'm kind of surprised that Jill even knows who this is, because I don't know if it was first season. She didn't even know who Michael Jordan was.
Yeah, the only thing, and I thought about this too, the only thing I can say is that, I think if you're living in suburban Detroit at this time, maybe through, osmosis, you would have heard the name Isaiah Thomas because he was the best player in the Pistons, and the Pistons had won the championship relatively recently. So that's the only explanation I have. But I bought it well enough, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's fine, even though Michael Jordan's the most popular person on the planet at that point. So
yeah.
But Tim comes home. Jill breaks the news to Mark that this is not this isn't going to happen. Yeah. This is another trick, and this is my favorite.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great.
This is the best part of the episode, because Jill finally finally does what we've all been waiting for, and she says, "Stop being such a sap."
Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, after how many episodes? 51 episodes, finally she says what we've all been thinking. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so about time. And Tim tries to give him some advice on how to spot these lies that Brad and Randy are just constantly trying to persuade him to believe. Mark wants to get them back. So
well, I just want to say that we should say what Tim says. He says, if something good happens and your brothers are happy, it's probably not good.
Yes.
So yeah,
pretty good advice.
I thought that
there
was a good line. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Mark, he wants to get them back. He's going to do it by telling them that they're ugly and their feet stink. So some of the insults that you used to hurl at me when you were mad at me when we were younger.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in high school I would always say that. Tim, when Mark says that, Tim's kind of like, "Ooh, ouch!" Really going to get him where it hurts. Which I think this is just a very, very funny scene because it's like the first time they've had any real awareness with Mark or the character, and they're kind of just, I don't know, they're kind. I'm not saying they're like making fun of him, but like they're sort of teasing him as they give him this advice. So they eventually it's decided that Mark is going to come up with a prank. So he's going to try to develop something a little bit better than saying that they're ugly and their feet stink. So.
Yep. So that I think Mark goes away to kind of think of what he wants to do, and Jill says, "We've got plans Friday night. I've got babysitters for the boys," and Tim is excited until he learns that he's going to Al's for that party that he didn't want to attend.
Yeah.
Can you call it a party? I guess you have to, but
there was that really show party of 5, and this party had 4 people, so
close enough.
Close enough. All right. So next scene, we're at Al's place. Same as
Al looks nice.
Last time.
He's got a tie on.
He has a kind of a cool tie. It's one of those ties where the bottom is not a triangle. It's like cut off. I don't know what the name of that tie is. I'm sure there is a name, but I like it. So it's Tim and Jill and Al, and Eileen is late. Oof, bad sign for a first date, Jordan. You do not want
bad sign.
That's a bad sign.
I knew this was going to be a bad thing when the hammock was gone.
Yeah, he's trying to clean up. That has too much of a bachelor vibe. You walk in and see a hammock, and you think like, what?
Instead, he's got like a dining room table with like those metal chairs in there.
The aesthetic is hard to describe. Al has prepared what you prepare on a first date: a rack of lamb. Tasty.
Delicious.
And he's really, really nervous. He's kind of pacing around, and he can't quite hold still. And he's sort of... Jill says that Tim should compliment Al or say something supportive, and Al's like bent over, and Tim says, "Nice butt, Al," which sounds really, really stupid. Like when I say it,
it works.
But it really, really works.
It works. Yeah. Almost everything in this episode works.
I completely agree. The door, there's a knock at the door. Good thing. It's that soundboard we got. Good thing we're paying for that. And he opens the door, and Eileen is there, and there's just kind of an awkward intro, as you might expect. Neither one is able to say much, really. They're kind of just standing in the doorway. Eventually, Al does invite Eileen in, and it gets a little bit better. She compliments. She says she loves home. How do I say that? She said she loves Tool Time. It's hard when you have 3 titles of shows in your head. She loves Tool Time, which why would she? I don't know. But she says Tim is funny and Al is competent.
Sums it up in a nutshell.
I agree. It was apt. There's some banter. Eventually, we get to the part where she has car trouble. Tim offers to help. Jill says that Al should help. Jill is really forcing her hand. She is the worst matchmaker in the world. And Al utters just the fantastic line, "I'd love to look under your hood." Audience goes wild.
Oh, well, I went wild myself.
Yeah.
The jokes are just way better this season. With, even stuff like that, or even before, Tim and Jill are joking about how long they've been married and their kids, and just the lines seem better written. The delivery is good. So
Jill says we have 3 wonderful boys, and Tim says, who might they be? It's just crisp.
Stuff like that.
It's crisp.
Yeah, so there's some small talk. Eventually it turns over into, Al says he'd love a big family. Eileen would also love a big family, but she hates all the red tape that goes with it, meeting someone you actually want to be with, realizing that after a year maybe that you still want to be with them and get married and then getting pregnant. She's 36. She doesn't have time for that.
It's funny to hear someone say that. Because I feel like that's something that has changed even since Home Improvement kind of aired, is I don't think there's the belief now that if you're 36 and you're a woman that you will never find love or have a child. I think that's sort of changed over time, but it's funny to hear her say, like, I'm 36, I'm an old spinstress, what am I going to do?
We do have a friend who always wanted to have kids young just because he thought his knees would give out.
It is true. What Al says later on did ring true to a friend of ours who, even in high school, was kind of like, I want to be able to play with my kid before I get too old. And I don't know if that was ever really a threat, but he followed through on it.
He made good on his
he made good to the surprise of most around him. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, she'd love to fact track, or Eileen, I'm talking about now. She'd love to fast track this whole process. Al says he'd love to be the father of her children.
I don't want to be too forward, but I'd love to be the father of your children. And it's just like, is this guy an alien? I mean, it's crazy. It's Richard Karn is obviously a close personal friend.
Obviously.
So we know that he's acting here, but it's quite a performance here. He nails it. He's going for it.
Yeah, he goes for it. So at home later on, Jill and Tim are still shocked by this whole scene that they just were witness to. And, Tim's like, hey, they're the perfect match. But Jill wants to slow them down. Now that she's gotten two people together that are obviously just ready to go, she wants to ruin it. So Tim tries to get her to stay out of it. She wants to call Al. And she says, you can't build a relationship on desperation, which I suppose is true. But we have a couple of friends that we know who got engaged and married. And within a couple of months of dating, maybe not just a single date, but it can happen. You
say a couple, I can only think of one. We'll talk off air. This is the whole thing where it's like Jill wants people to get together, but only on like her terms. She wants to kind of control every aspect of the relationship. She can't really believe what happened. She kind of like mimics or mocks Eileen, saying that her purse, she knocked her purse over, presumably because she had too much to drink, so she wanted to stay on the couch. So Eileen is kind of game, and Jill says, how long do you think she's going to stay on that couch before Al joins her? And Tim says, probably 6 months, which is a really good line. Did you have a bio for Eileen?
All right, so Eileen is played by Sherry Hersley. She was in Bring It On in 2000, which I don't remember. I'm a big Bring It On fan.
I prefer Bring It On All or Nothing. The sequel.
Well,
Bring It On, All or Nothing.
68 credits to her name. Most recently, she was in Nip Tuck and Jag, so early 2000s. Hasn't been doing anything super of late, but she was in 16 episodes of Home Improvement, so we'll see her quite a bit. She was also in one of my mom's favorites, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. So she's been acting for a while. She was on Prince of Bel-Air for an episode. She was on Matlock for an episode. She kind of made the rounds, and she does a good job.
A journeywoman.
Yeah. Started off on Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, I saw that. And I guess I knew this regardless, but her IMDb photo is Al and her getting married. So, spoiler to Home Impodcast listeners, they do appear to get married. So, sorry. She won't be around until 1997, so 4 years from now. I hope the character gets better. All right, so Sherry Hersey, we are back. Where are we? We are in the side yard. So, Tim Where are we? We're in the side yard. So, Tim heads outside, and Jordan, we got to play a clip.
Yep, let's do it.
Happy hour, Wilson? No, Tim. I find that 2 coats of bourbon give my paintings a nice gloss.
2 coats of bourbon will give anybody a nice gloss.
Tim, it was rumored that the Mona Lisa was covered with a splash of whiskey.
That would explain why she had that little plastered look.
Actually, Tim, I think that look may have had more to do with her supposed relationship with Leonardo da Vinci.
I don't want to talk about relationships today.
Problem, Tim?
Yeah, Jill's driving me nuts. She fixes Al up with a girl he likes. Now she thinks they're moving too fast. She wants to break them up. Why do women want to meddle in other people's relationships? Men don't care about this stuff.
Oh, Tim, you're falling victim to a cultural stereotype. Historically, men have been the primary matchmakers. For example, among the Socia Kafir tribe, a young man's father would choose his first, sometimes even his second wife, in exchange for a sack of barley or a goat.
I'd hold out for a sack of cash and a Jag.
You see, Tim, unlike the ancient matchmakers who received goods for their services, Jill's motives are much purer. She only wants what's best for Al.
Yeah, but why does she drag me into it?
Who the heck knows? You know women.
So yeah, Tim is revved up here outside like usual. Wilson's out there painting and splashing some bourbon on his painting. It's said that Leonardo da Vinci had some on his Mona Lisa painting, so Wilson's a master painter just like Leonardo. So it turns into, why do women always meddle? And Wilson says,
First time we've ever heard this on the episode. On the tour.
Yeah. But Wilson sets him straight. He says, you're falling into a cultural stereotype here. Historically, men were the matchmakers. They would do so for dowries and gifts and exchanging power, all that sorts of stuff. So he simply explains that and expands Tim's perspective, I guess.
I think you had some bourbon as you watched.
I told you, I'm looser now.
Yeah, you're loose.
And Jill. He says that Jill's motives are purer than receiving goods and services. So it's a quick scene, an effective scene, but it ends with something that you really enjoyed.
Well, I like it because it ends with kind of just like, well, you know how women are, huh? Women, what's
and then
the
they just
deal?
leave.
And then they just like leave. So it's like all of this, the traditional like Wilson is kind of an academic explanation, putting it in Tim's kind of terms, and then Tim asks the question at the end, but like, why does Jill feel like she needs to still kind of be a part of this? And he's like, well, you know how women are, they're crazy. And that's probably why Home Improvement doesn't make top 10 lists, I guess. I don't know. But it's a fine scene. It's short and simple. And there's a good joke at the beginning about bourbon kind of giving, what does he say? Bourbon kind of giving a gloss or something?
Yes.
And then Tim says bourbon will give anybody a gloss. So it was funny. We cut inside, and we're going to see the prank pay off, Jordan.
Oh, yeah. You love
Jill,
it when a plan comes together.
Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, and I'll See You in My Dreams, my 4 favorite prank stories. So Jill asked earlier, she asked Mark, Karn, you please grow up? And this is kind of how he answered that. So it's a first prank. And this, I have a, Jill says, like, I'm so proud of you. And Mark says, Mom, this is only the beginning. And then he looks so like self-assured. It's like, Mark, no, it's not.
You know what it looked like?
What?
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like the elves with attitude thing from the Santa Claus.
It is like that.
It's the camera work, it's the delivery, it's all of those things. It's the self-assuredness.
This is only the beginning. And it's like, this is a...
Elves with attitude.
We're elves. I think that kid's smug, and I think Blitzen's a star, but listen back to our episode on the Santa Claus if you want more details on that. Okay, so the prank is, it's a well-developed prank. It's a good prank. Mm-hmm. I think they did a good job. Do I believe Mark came up with it on his own? No. All right, so here's the deal. Another letter came in the mail. Mark, Brad, and Randy are all sitting outside. Jill comes out and says, a letter came in the mail from Isaiah Thomas. Obviously, like, Brad and Randy are confused because they didn't say it. Brad's wearing the same shirt that Tim wore last episode and wears in the credits, except it says medium instead of extra large. I don't know. Nice. And I'm thinking, the Lions just recovered a fumble!
Oh, man.
Bringing it back.
Wow.
So the letter says, it says, hi, Mark, thanks for writing me. Here's 5 tickets to the Pistons-Bulls game. On Home Improvement,
it's always
the Pistons
Bulls.
Only play the Bulls. Yeah,
that's it. Central Division rivals. That's it.
Here's 5 tickets to the Bulls game. Afterwards,
courtside.
Yeah, they're courtside. Afterwards, you can come in the locker room. I'll give you an autograph ball. All these things. Brad and Randy, they are losing it because they think it's real because they didn't write it. So Jill says, you guys did this. You're trying to trick your brother. And they're like, no, this one's real. We wrote the other one. And like Jill starts ripping it up, and Tim's not in on it. So like they're all like losing their minds, and they're going through the trash. And eventually, she says that I did this. You're busted. And that's really the extent of it. It's a good gag.
It's a good gag, yeah. And Mark at the end, he gets to go up and tease them some more.
Yeah, until they like punch him in the face. Like they're just gonna push him over. It's not gonna last long.
But for those few seconds, he's gonna feel glorious.
Yeah,
so.
It's good. It's probably one of the better pranks orchestrated.
I like that Tim's not in on it too.
Yeah, and then Tim tries to sell it by like, yeah,
it's a nice touch.
We really got you guys.
It's a good touch to the prank. So Mark goes upstairs with the boys, and Jill immediately turns back to the only thing on her mind, and that's getting Tim to talk to Al about Eileen. And stop this love fest from continuing.
Got that right. Back to tool time. So there's another. It's still male hobby week.
What's the hobby this time? Hubcaps.
It's this guy has a hubcap collection, and Tim is like guessing them. And there's a note about like, I don't know. Tim said, "I'm surprised your wife let you do this," and the guy's like, "Yeah, she divorced me." And Tim said that he's probably happier now, regardless, or he made the right choice, or something like that. Al kind of goes full Tim here. He decides to go on a diatribe of his own.
First, he says he would never trade covers for the love of a good woman.
Oh yeah, he would never. And then he's like you said earlier, he's got some confidence. He's got some pesto. He's got some pizzazz. And he did I say pesto? I definitely meant pesto. He's got pesto from when they went to the.
He's making some spaghetti.
So last season they went to have some stinkies. He put some pesto in his pocket and he held on to it, and he just realized
he's been waiting all that time to use it right now.
Yes. So he's got some gusto and pesto. Oh lordy. So he begins to use the show as his own personal forum, and he kind of chastises Tim for having done that. And he just goes up to the camera and he proposes to Eileen. And it's as simple as that. And Tim goes up and he kind of says, like, "What are you doing? You're crazy." And Elle says, "Yeah, crazy in love." And even the audience doesn't really know what to do with this because no one's laughing. And they just quickly wrap up the episode. And this hubcap guy is just kind of out there standing with his caps in his hand, you know?
Yeah, and he gets treated pretty raw. So let's give him a bio. Let's give him some.
Yeah, I mean he was really
props.
Good. He was really memorable.
So I didn't even know his name until I looked it up, but it's Jimmy in this episode, played by Christopher Michael Moore, not the same Michael Moore that went to our high school.
Yeah, but he's not in the Davison Hall of Fame. Thank God.
That's for sure. So he is known for Witchboard 2, Angel on the Abbey Street, and City Heat, which are three of your favorite films.
Witchboard 2.
Better than 1.
Yeah, but not quite as good as 3. You know?
Yeah, it's true. It's one of those middling films.
Yeah.
He last worked in the Shameless series as Fred in one episode. That was 2015. He was on Just Shoot Me, Malcolm in the Middle, That 70s Show, Everybody Loved Raymond, Seinfeld. His very first role was on the A-Team in the unforgettable role titled Soldier. So
Soldier.
Christopher, he's been everywhere. He's done everything.
It's not that good of a performance, but he also doesn't have that much to do, so I guess it's whatever. So we cut back to it's after the show. This is actually the gag that Richard Karn mentioned on the interview a few weeks back about how Al takes off his flannel shirt that he wears for the show and then is immediately given almost the exact same flannel shirt to wear off the show. So presumably the persona is real and Al is just Al. Tim kind of like talks to Al like what are you doing? He tries to explain it in terms of like how you would buy a particular tool, and I don't remember the kind of tool.
Saber saw versus jackhammers.
Yeah, so if you have to buy a saber saw, would you just buy the first one that you saw? And Al says, no, you do some research and you go into it. And basically, Tim says, you don't know enough about Eileen. This is maybe not a good idea. And Al kind of gets real here, and he says, it's just that my father was almost 60 when I was born, and when other kids were, having a catch at the park or kind of, doing sort of physical activity with their father, Al's dad wasn't able to do so he kind of felt left out, and he doesn't want to have that experience with his son.
Yeah, they weren't able to play catch. The nice thing, though, Tim breaks through with kind of his saber saw analogy, and
it's the old saber saw analogy. I mean, how many times has that worked?
How many? I mean, your dad talked to you about the saber saw analogy at least 3 times. Yeah,
I got the saber saw, but I never got the birds and the bees. So I still have some questions, but whatever. Yeah. We'll talk after the show.
I'll explain it to you. So he does break through. Al is like, oh no, the show. This has already been recorded, and this is where we kind of learn a little bit more that the show is not live because Tim kind of can go in and fix this, and he will.
They should have gone in and fixed a lot of other things if this was an option.
Yeah, but we'll see. Apparently, they like to air terrible things sometimes. So, but the scene ends, I guess, in a nice moment where Al and Tim decide that they're going to go play catch in the park.
Yeah, and then what does Al want Tim to do in addition to that? He said, can we feed the ducks?
Pigeons.
Al is the kind of guy that would want to feed the pigeons.
Well, that's what him and his dad used to do.
Oh, really? I missed that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feed pigeons or ducks or anything because it just kind of encourages
just
them.
Just not a natural diet.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. So Tim says no. All right, so we're back home, and Jill and Tim are watching the show, and Tim has already told her that Al proposes, and she said, what did you do? And Tim says, I took care of it. So essentially Tim just kind of like dubbed it over.
Godzilla?
He said, instead of spend the rest of my life with you, he said spend Tuesday night And then it just basically goes into Godzilla dubbing, and it's you don't really see a ton of it, but they do it effectively. It's like 20 seconds, and it's pretty funny.
There's no way this would air. There's just no way.
Yeah, I know, but also like this also exists in a world where like everybody that meets Tim has watched a local
and
cable access tool show and is like a big fan. So suspension of disbelief, I guess.
Yes, yep. So later we get a great scene here with the aforementioned Isaiah Thomas, and let's go ahead and just play the clip before we talk about it.
Let's play the clip, because this is a doozy.
Dear Mark, sorry it's taken me so long to write back, but I've been really busy.
Isaiah, honey, come to dinner.
In a minute. I gotta write back to this kid. He's written me 25 times.
Your corn's getting cold.
All right, so this is one of my favorite Tool Time scenes. Why do I keep calling it Tool Time? I host the Home Improvement podcast. I can't get the name right. So my favorite Home Improvement scenes to date. So the whole episode, you're talking about Isaiah Thomas, and I'm wondering, because I didn't know. Did you know he was going to appear in this episode?
No, I didn't.
I had no idea. So I was genuinely surprised. How many times have I been surprised when I've done this podcast and watched this show?
3.
Like once, probably. Yeah, less than 3. So it's Isaiah Thomas, and he's in his home office, and he's got all this memorabilia. He's got a basketball that says like all-time Pistons scoring leader, trophies, whatever. And he's writing a letter to Mark, and basically he's returning the letter and he's reading it out loud. He's like, Mark, you've written me 25 times. And then a woman says, Isaiah, come on out. The corn's getting cold. So Isaiah really does love corn.
That was the best line of the whole episode.
Good. It was so funny. The corn's getting cold, and he says, hang on, I'm just writing this kid a letter. And that's how it ends. And then there's a blooper where it's the exact same thing, but after the woman says the corn's getting cold, Tim comes out and says, yeah, come on, Zeke, which is his nickname. Corn's getting cold, let's go. And Isaiah loses it. And it was a fantastic end to a fantastic episode. But let's get the Isaiah Thomas bio before we go too much further.
We mentioned Piston star. Full name Isaiah Lord Thomas III, born in 1961. He's a 6'1" Pistons point guard from 1981 to 94. 2 NBA championships, 12-time All-Star, named one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history when they did that in 1996. He's also in the Hall of Fame. Nicknamed Zeke, as you said, and the baby-faced assassin. This isn't his only appearance in a film or television show. He also appeared in the 1994 film Hoop Dreams, which was kind of a documentary drama type thing based on a true story, following the lives of 2 inner-city Chicago boys who struggled to become college basketball players on the road to going professional.
Have you seen that?
I have not. It's actually
supposed to be one of the best documentaries ever made.
I was going to say, it was on my Netflix queue for a while. I don't know if it's still on there. Yeah. But he also had short-lived stints as a studio analyst, coach for the Pacers, and GM for the Knicks.
Yeah, none of which went.
He was a fine studio analyst.
Yeah, the Knicks thing is kind of comically terrible. But
until Phil Jackson came around.
And then everybody forgot about Isaiah. Yeah, Isaiah is... Yeah, one of the... I mean, he still holds NBA records in terms of, like, just a fantastic point guard and probably the finest Piston of all time.
Yeah, he's up there. One of the best point guards ever, too. So, a little bit stiff, I guess, in his scene, but,
I kind of disagree.
Really? I thought he was good. All right, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm jealous because he's better at reading letters than I am.
He definitely is. I think maybe I was just so excited to see him that I didn't care what he did on camera as long as he was on camera. But I actually thought he was okay. Okay. So Jordan, roll credits, fade to black. I'll see you in my dreams. Highs and lows.
Wow. First, I just want to say best episode we've had in such a long time.
I think this is
maybe the best.
Second, I think this is almost the best episode we've ever covered. I think it's. For Whom the Bell Tolls in this are two of
they're very different, but
I think this is one of the best episodes we've ever covered.
Yeah,
and I had no memory of it. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
I don't remember it either. So highs and lows. I'll start with my highs. Just the amen that was Jill telling Mark to stop with his silliness and believing all these pranks. I like the prank that they got them back with. I think it worked well. Lots of funny lines between Jill and Tim and the boys and Al and Eileen, all that kind of stuff. It all worked. The Karn joke is fantastic. I was shocked that they got Isaiah Thomas. That was a surprise, just like you said. I had no idea that it was actually going to, come through in the end. And I also liked that we got a little bit more of Al's backstory with his dad and getting him a little bit more involved. And I even liked the Wilson scene that was short and sweet, but, changed Tim's perspective a little bit. I didn't really like the Godzilla dubbing. I think that lacked a little bit of logic, but other than that, yeah, just a really great episode. Really enjoyed it. Glad we got to watch it twice.
Yeah, I would say this episode is very lean in the sense that I don't feel like there's a wasted scene. There are no scenes that are without purpose and that are without humor. I think this is the funniest episode we've ever covered. I mean, there are throwaway lines in this episode that are better than the best lines in other episodes. They're just every scene, there's good crisp joke. I mean the Karn thing carrying through is hilarious. Tim has great lines. Wilson is funny. Al is funny. The guest stars are good. It's from top to bottom, it's just a really well-constructed, funny episode with good visual gags. I mean, you got the flannel shirt cake. Mm-hmm. You've got the stuff at Al's apartment with just them at the door. Even the dubbing, which is maybe lacks sort of a sense of reality, I thought was pretty funny. And then you get to the end, and you don't know Isaiah Thomas is coming, and he pops up, and it's just... Bam. I was floored. I couldn't believe it. The prank was good. Nothing but the highest praise for this episode. In terms of lows, if I had to critique something, I guess maybe the Tim getting electrocuted thing was just sort of perfunctory. We've seen that before, and there's really no lasting effects. But it's just a great episode. I'm going to say it's maybe the best one we've ever covered.
Yeah, I like what you say about no wasted scenes. There's so many episodes where there's just one or two good scenes that stick out in the whole episode, and this one from the start where they open with the prank to the very end with Isaiah Thomas just works. So
I agree.
Good all the way around. So that is episode 51. I'll see you in my dreams. Social media time.
Yeah, Jordan, should we talk social media? There's been a recent development in the social media. Jordan, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we talk about donating to us through Patreon or supporting us on our website through the support tab, and we had just a thrilling donation from a friend of ours, Sean, in honor of just the generosity. We wanted to rename the social media roundup to Sean's social media roundup for the rest of season 3 of the Home Impodcast. So thank you, Sean. And if anyone else would feel free or would like to donate, you can do so at patreon.com/Home Impodcast. And on our website, thehomeimpodcast.com, where there's a support tab, you'll see Sean and other people who have donated to us on the Wall of Fame. And you'll continue to receive exclusive tidbits such as the Jungle to Jungle full episode and perhaps some other things later on. So you can reach out to us on social media as well. At Twitter, we're at Home Impodcast, or facebook.com/Home Impodcast, and email us at homeimpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, on the Twitter front. So yeah, thanks again to Sean for just a fantastic donation. Really, really helpful. I tweeted a poll today, or not a poll, rather a survey, and it's regarding our Patreon account. And essentially, what we're trying to find out is, Patreon is you donate money to the show, I think in monthly installments, and then you get rewards in return. And we're trying to kind of revamp our rewards. And sort of figure out what maybe people would want, not necessarily in exchange, but kind of as a gift of gratitude for donating the show. So that's pinned to the top of the Twitter. So if you could fill that out and maybe give us a better idea. And we're trying to continue to keep the donations rolling so that the show doesn't cost us money to do. That's essentially our only goal, is to cover the costs of doing the show. And again, thank you to Sean for that. And this is now... henceforth will be known as Sean's Social Media Roundup. So in terms of Twitter this week, poll, have you ever met a celebrity? If so, tweet at us. So 44% say no, and 56% say yes. And a couple people did tweet at us, and one person, his watchman, said, I met Demi Moore when she was filming G.I. Jane at our commercial driving school in California. Another person said they met David Hasselhoff. And then there was a final person who noted, let me find this, that said that they met Tom Wilson, a.k.a. Biff, from Back to the Future. So,
nice.
Those were only 3 people, so a few, obviously people said yes and didn't tell us. So if you want to tell us, we'd still be interested in hearing. And, I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on. No, just continuing to get followers and, some good interaction. So if you like the show, we're real close to 300 followers, which would, would just tickle me if we could get that relatively soon. So, rate and review us on iTunes.
Tickle me, Adam.
Tickle me, Adam. Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's my nickname. So, Jordan, anything else, or should we get to the question of the week?
Yeah, it's been a few weeks since we've done a question of the week, so let's go ahead and get into that.
Let's do it. Okay, so Jordan, I'll just kind of reiterate the poll. Have you ever met a celebrity?
Have I ever met a celebrity?
And when I say meet, I mean like spoken, shook hands, not necessarily seen one from a distance, but actually met.
Shook hands. I have a couple autographs, but I don't know. They were when I was younger, and I don't know that I actually like met them, or like maybe my mom just went and got the autographs kind of thing.
Okay.
I think Mateen Cleaves. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I've met Mateen Cleaves too. That's a pretty common Flint thing.
Low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
One time I played basketball against Kelvin Torbert. So that was pretty close interaction.
Not that many people would know who Kelvin Torbert is.
No, former Michigan State basketball player and played overseas
number one
for a while.
high school basketball player in the nation for a while that went to Michigan State and kind of didn't meet expectations.
Not quite, but he did have a successful career overseas and is doing just fine. So, trying to think if there's anyone else that I've met besides Mickey Mouse in a in that sort of way. No, nothing's really coming to mind. I guess I'm just I haven't been lucky enough.
I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like I've seen celebrities from like a distance. Like I was at the Expendables movie premiere in Las Vegas. Like I just happened to be there at the same time. So like I saw like Schwarzenegger and Stallone and like a bunch of like aging action stars, but like I didn't really meet them. In terms of people I've met, I met. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say like I worked at Disney when Aaron Rodgers was the MVP.
Yeah.
And like. So he came through on his little parade or whatever,
right.
and I was right next to him in the little car, but I did not shake his hand.
Yeah, in terms of shaking hands, I met my favorite author, Chuck Klosterman, a few weeks ago. So that was kind of big. I remember in college, Cal Penn, who is Kumar from Harold and Kumar. He was like campaigning for Obama, and he came to Western, and like I shook his hand and got an autograph, and he was really nice. But in terms of shaking hands, probably like. I remember I went to an autograph signing for Kirk Gibson when I was young and things like that. But in terms of like outside of like autograph signings, probably Cal Penn. And I'm sure that there's maybe something else I'm not remembering.
Yeah, I'm remembering when I was in college, Kirk Cousins was there and he came to like a Christian event that we had. And so we went and met him when we were there. And there were some other athletes, but none were, in the NFL like him.
Yeah. It's tough when to say that you've actually like spoken to. I can't think of anything. Cal Penn and Chuck Klosterman, I would say, would be the big ones. But I'll keep thinking. I'm sure there's probably something that I've forgotten.
We'll just tweet out all of our famous
people are really
encounters.
interested in famous people we've met. So unfortunately, next week we will be off. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm going to be in Michigan for a wedding. So 2 weeks from now, we'll be covering This Joke's for You. So next week when we're off, go back and listen to some of our hits. Listen to this episode again.
The Karn interview.
From the Belch Tolls.
Or if you want something new, just go ahead and donate even $1 to us, and we'll get you that Jungle to Jungle episode.
Jungle app that people have just been going bananas for. No pun intended. All right, so off next week, but we'll be back a couple weeks with a vengeance. And everyone, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show, and take care, Jordan. Take care, everybody else.
Take care.